was asked to talk about Mr. and Mrs. Mason, our counselors from school. It's fun to me because the first thoughts that come to my mind are so sweet, so kind, so nice, so helpful, so professional. What excellent role models. If you needed a pick-me-up or you needed to hear some kind words of encouragement, you could always go by Mrs. Mason's office or see Mr. Mason and just feel better about yourself. I reached out to quite a few of my classmates because I was trying to think of any specific advice or a specific incident that I could recall. And it's funny because in talking to all of my classmates, the words that I got were so sweet, so kind, so nice, so helpful, so friendly. Very professional, very helpful. I can remember going to see Mr. Mason about pursuing a career as a veterinarian. He said, well, let's look at the booklet for the classes and let's see, and let's get you signed up for the correct courses. And I said, any advice? And I can remember pretty much in a nutshell, work hard, stay focused, don't get sidetracked, and you'll be fine. You know, they're a good, hard-working family from the farm. They've been so grounded and so decent and nice and kind and friendly and helpful. Those are my memories of Mr. and Mrs. Mason. I can't think of two people that deserve an honor like this more. They represent everything good about Mountain Home High School. And I can tell you, you could parade dozens and dozens and dozens of students through here that would say exactly the same thing that my classmates and myself have said. Genuinely wonderful people.
It's truly my pleasure and privilege to introduce Norman and Margaret Mason as 2018 inductees into the Mountain Home Education Foundation's Hall of Honor. Both served Mountain Home Public Schools with integrity and distinction, and I would add love and kindness. Believe me, I'm not the only one who thinks so. Please allow me to share with you some of the comments about these two special people when the announcement was made on KTLO and Facebook. There was one comment in particular that I read initially but couldn't find when I was putting the video together. It was from a gentleman named Gordon who wrote something to the effect, "Mrs. Mason, you were always my favorite teacher." In return, she said, "Gordon, you are my favorite too." At first I thought, well, shoot, I thought I was her favorite. Then it occurred to me that Mrs. Mason is so special to us because she made each one of us feel as if we were her favorite. What a wonderful trait. I must admit that I do not know Mr. Norman except through comments of others. I understand that he was a high school counselor and an excellent one when I was a senior, but Mrs. Mason was my English teacher at that time. One quick story from our senior year that she probably doesn't know about is that one night before we had a paper due the next day, I edited and cleaned up Rick's, now my husband's, paper that he had written. After Mrs. Mason graded and handed them back, I was not too happy because he got a better grade than I did. Little did I know that I would still be editing and cleaning up Rick's reports 47 years later. For those of you who don't know, he's a appraiser. Mrs. Mason, you were the one who taught me how. Thank you.
Norman and Margaret, Congratulations on your selection of this year's Hall of Honor. This is a long overdue award. I can't think of two educators that are more deserving of this award. I'm happy to say that I got to work with Norman and Margaret several years at the high school. I have many fond memories of those times together with Norman and Margaret at the high school. I can remember my first year as principal at the high school. I had all these great ideas about improving our school. I would walk across the hall to their office and run them by Norman and Margaret. If the ideas were good for the students, they were always supportive. Sometimes Norman would say, "Kirksey, you better think about that one some more." As you can guess, I did a lot of thinking that first year. Norman and Margaret were more than just associates in my professional life. Their friendship and care went deep into my personal family. One winter, my house burned and my family was displaced. A couple of days after that, Norman showed up and handed me a key. He said, "This is a key to our house in town. Use it as long as you want." Norman and Margaret knew that my little girls needed a warm bed to sleep in and a place they could call home until we could get our feet back on the ground. What an awesome act of kindness and generosity on their part. We stayed in the house for a few months until we rebuilt our house. Thank you, Norman and Margaret, for all that you did for my family and I. But most importantly, thank you for all the help and the support you gave the students in Mountain Home School at all those years. It was a better place because of you. Enjoy your honor.
Margaret and Norman Mason invested a lifetime in education, in students. What makes these two people so special? Respect in the classroom, but outside as well. And we can see this with the Masons. Not only that this was a quality well observed, even today, if you're fortunate enough to have some interaction with them, you can see that respect is key. It seems that there was always an aura of humility around these two. And I think part of this great respect for both of these people is the fact that they always respected their students, something that we would all like to claim. And at one point, years ago, all public school teachers were to take a test to prove that we were competent. I saw Margaret Mason, the calm, the serene, the unruffled, which is what you always want in a counselor. She said, "Evelyn, this morning I stood in front of the mirror putting my makeup on. Suddenly I realized that was my deodorant I was putting on my face." And we both laughed. That released the tension. And I thought, what a wonderful comment coming from Margaret, the unruffled. And not only have Margaret and Norman spent a lifetime investing in students, but also in family. Margaret and Norman, thank you for all these years that you have given to students. This investment will pay dividends for generations to come. And thank you too, as a representative of your peers who appreciate all that you have given, not only in the dividends that pay to us, but also that we can look at with friendship and many treasured memories in education.